Hi, I'm David Roach with Mount Zion Baptist Church in Snellville, Georgia, just east of Atlanta. I want to tell you real quick about our church and also about our video production system, and especially this switcher that we're very excited about. First, our church. About 1,000-member church, 500-seat worship center, and other buildings scattered around the campus. We do 2 Sunday morning services, and we stream both of those, and then we do other special events during the year. So we have a pretty typical church schedule. About 5 years ago, we looked at our video systems and said we need to upgrade. And we had typical VGA, presentation switcher, all that kind of stuff. And it just wasn't meeting our needs anymore. So we threw all that out, went to an SDI infrastructure. This switcher, the HVS-110 by 4A, became the center of our production system. And we couldn't be happier with the choice. It's terrific. Give you the rundown on what we do with it real quick so you can see how it meets our needs. We have 3 cameras we're using. The Sony NX cams that don't have reference inputs. They're prosumer cameras, so the built-in frame syncs on all the inputs on the switcher became a very valuable thing for us. So we're able to time all those cameras without any external reference. We're using ProPresenter 7 with 4 outputs, the main output, full screen, lower third key and fill, and as well as stage display. 7 of the 12 inputs we're using. Switcher has 8 outputs. We're using 7 of them. We feed our projectors, our stage confidence monitor, choir confidence monitors, record stream output. We use feed an RF system and a mother's nursing room, and we also feed our front of house audio and video and audio for video control rooms. Those are fed by the built-in multi-viewer of the switcher, which is great because everybody can see the same thing that we're seeing up here, so we can make sure we're all in time in sync with each other, what we're doing for video. And the cool thing about that is because of the way the switcher is built, it's very flexible. All the inputs are available to all the outputs. Outputs are all aux outputs. There's no fixed program or preview outs, so you can route anything to anywhere. So program to all of them, mix and match however you want to. The cool thing also about that is all the outputs have transitions on them, so you can do a dissolve instead of a hard cut on those. So that comes in handy a lot of times when we do a split feed for our stream and for IMAG, because we'll feed certain closer shots to the IMAG and then a whole different thing to the streaming audience. And being able to split that and do nice transitions on those auxes is a huge plus. Switcher has all the effects you expect, of course, wipe and dissolve and all that. Downstream keyers, regular bus keyers. It's got user settings so you can store several user memories with macros. It's got DVE, just a load of stuff on there. A lot of that we don't use because our productions are not that involved, but if you need them, they're in here. One of the great things about this is it's been here 5 years now, not a second of downtime. We got hit about 6 weeks ago with a lightning strike, and if you can imagine, what would happen there. We had lots of damage around, including the switcher. This switcher got hit by lightning. It's still running, and it's been operational 100% since. Well, with 3 things. One of the program outputs got knocked out, the serial output that we feed our tally system with, and it has 2 power inputs, which is great. But one of those got zapped, so we just moved the power supply to the other one. It's switcher's broadcast routes showing up there. They do redundant power, so. It came up and ran, has been running ever since, haven't had a glitch, haven't had a failure, and so I got to say that kind of reliability, that kind of build quality is impressive. It's what you get when you buy a broadcast piece of equipment. You don't get that in the throwaway switchers that are out there prevalent now. They may cost a little less, but in the end, So support from 4A. I've worked with them on other projects over the years with the HVS 390, 490 switcher, the routers, their multi-viewers. The support's terrific. These guys they know their stuff. They're super nice. They're available. You don't get an 800 number to call. You get somebody's number to call if you need help. They'll take your call. They'll give you the information you need. They'll talk you through any the operational issues you've got. They're on top of it. Can't beat support like that. That's a rare thing in these days, and I'm always impressed by that. I got to say, if you're looking for a switcher, if your church is of our size, if you got a need for a new production switcher, the HVS-110 is worth strong consideration. Flexibility, the quality, the support, it's all there. I'd take a strong look at this one.
The 4A switchers have a lot of powerful features that set them apart from other products. Take a look at this video that we produced a few years ago when I was touring with Chris Tomlin, and I'll come back and I'll show you how I would do it today with some of the newer product lineups.
Hey everyone, my name is Anthony Young and I'm the video director for Chris Tomlin's 2019 Holy Roar Tour. Our primary video rig is the HVS-390. It's a 2.5 ME switcher, and I'm using that in conjunction with the HVS-300, which is acting as our final output to the LED.
4 lower, go 5, 5 lower. Ready, 3 upper, and 3. 1 upper, 1.
There are two 1920 by 1080 output rasters for our video wall setup. The first output comes from the 300 switcher and is our primary wall for IMAG and camera shots. The second output comes from an aux on the 390. All camera cuts are done on the 390, and I'm using both full MEs and the half ME of the 390 to accomplish the different IMAG looks. Both of the main LED walls can be broken into a 3-split, 2-split, single camera shot, or a combination of any of those. IMAG is primarily sent to the mid-stage wall, while the upstage wall behind the band is a mix of content and texture camera shots. The speaker look puts IMAG on the left and right of the wall, with speaker slides and video playback in the middle.
8 lower, 8, 6, 6, 7, 5, go, 5. 6 lower, go, and 6.
Program on ME1 is always the media server. This serves as the base layer and background for everything else I'm doing. On top of that, I built the 3-split, which essentially breaks the LED wall into 3 16:9 camera shots side by side. For this, I use ME1 Key 1, Key 2, and Key 3 as full screen keys, all with 2D DVE enabled, so I can move and scale them on top of the output map. Using the ME outputs and output option cards, I send ME1 Preview, ME2 Clean, and the half ME, which I call ME3 for simplicity, into the router, and they get routed back into the switcher as sources. For the 3 box, I use ME1 Preview as the left screen, ME2 Clean as the center screen, and ME3 as the right screen. I can get away with using ME1 Preview to cut because any songs that use a 3-box look do not need transitions. Cuts are always appropriate. Next, I assign the source of ME2 Key 1 to the internal crosspoint of ME1 Program as a full screen key. This always stays on because, again, the content from the media server is the background for everything we're doing, and that comes from ME1 Program. I use ME2 Key 2 and 3 for the 2-split. The key assignments for those are ME2 Clean and ME3 Program. Finally, I assign ME2 Clean as the source of ME1 Key 4. This creates the primary camera look of the show, which is a single shot that spans the upper LED wall. Since you cannot assign MEs on this switcher, and I'm actively using all 3 MEs to cut cameras, I set up single-step macros that cut on the half ME. I've assigned these macros to the right half of the lower bus. The only caveat is that I don't have button lights to indicate what source is live, so I have to rely on the multiviewer for confidence. On the top row, I've set the shift button to toggle so that it always stays on. Looking at the shift row bus assignment, you can see buttons 1 through 12 are cameras, 1 through 11 and black, and the rest of the shift row is blank. This is really important because I use the macro attach function to assign macros to buttons on the right half of the upper bus. These macros recall the events where I stored each of my IMAG looks. I use a user button to toggle to the macro bus, which changes the display on the upper ME. This is what allows me to see macro names that I've assigned to the macro bus and corresponding buttons using the macro attach function. aux1 from the 390 is assigned to ME2 Program and routed into the 300 switcher, which is the final output to the main LED walls. The DSK on the 300 is assigned to the key and fill layers from the media server to overlay content on top of the camera cut. A few songs in the set are full screen content with no IMAG on any of the LED walls. When this is the case, I put the server and program on the 300 so it is a direct feed to the wall. Finally, I have an HVS aux16 unit mounted on the desk that I use to change sources on aux4. I feed aux4 from the 390 switcher into the 300 as a source, and I've assigned aux4 to the keyer as a full screen key. Using 2D DVE, I position and crop it so that I can put cameras on the bottom LED screen while still maintaining full functionality of all the iMag looks I've built on the 390.
If I were doing the same tour today, my first choice would be either the HVS-110 or the HVS-110. The first thing I would set up would be IMI lights. The great advantage of IMI lights is the ability to preview and use transitions. You can also use flexa keys to assign a keyer to the IMI lights. So if we were going to build a PIP, I could assign two flexa keys to an IMI light, and I could build a 2-box on that PIP. Let's say we have 2 LED walls, and they're both going to get a different feed. I can feed IMI light 1 and IMI light 2 to both of those walls. Now if I use bus follows, I can set up when I take a guitar shot that a drum shot goes to the other screen. Another feature that I use, or another way that I use bus follows, is to change DSMs and confidence monitors. So let's say we have 2 playback sources and each of those have a countdown clock for the video. Well, when I take playback 1, we want the right timer to show up on the monitor for the talent. So with a bus follow, you can have that change, and it's really easy to set up. You could also accomplish this with user flags, and user flags are part of the GPIO, and it's basically, if this happens, then you can do that. So I'll use user flags to turn keys on and off, to change sources on auxes, to change confidence monitors, and you can do a lot with user flags. Another thing I want to touch on is macros. The way you can edit and build a macro on these systems is incredibly easy. The favorite thing I like about these is that you can build macros without ever having to hit record and punch buttons on the panel. So I can be offline in the office and I can be building a macro, and then I can come in here and play it and be confident that it's going to work the way I want it to. This is also really convenient because if I'm in the middle of the show TDing and I need a new macro, I can have an engineer in the back be building the macro, or I can be building it on the touch screen while still cutting the show, and I don't have to stop anything to hit buttons and record that macro. And the other thing is, when you record a macro on the panel and hit buttons, you're going to record a bunch of timings that you may not want, and you have to go change those. So building a macro in the GUI is super easy. So that's just a little overview of these switchers, and 4A makes a range of panels for the switchers from 12, and this is a 32. So if this panel is too big to go on tour, you could also take a 24 button or a 12 button panel.
So as the owner of this company, about a little over 10 years ago, I had to make a decision on what direction to go when we upgraded from standard definition to high definition. And of all the switchers I demoed, I went with 4A, mainly because of the price and features. The only thing that even came close at the time was the same price, but had about half the size and half the features. And as they came out with new products, I upgraded each time. Currently, we have about 10 of their switchers, all from smaller systems like the HVS-110 all the way up to the 2000 that you see here behind me. We have a lot of clients come to us with some pretty big asks, and a lot of them being churches and ministries just don't have the budget to bring in a big truck or a big system, and we're able to do some pretty high-end things on a shoestring budget. A couple clients that we do this for would be like a Hillsong, Chris Tomlin, and some others, as well as corporate clients and a lot of entertainment. And we're able to do effects like black and white and blurring, and we're able to make things look like film and do all kinds of things inside of our switcher. We're able to color correct LED walls when they don't have the capability to do that, because each aux can do color correction, as well as every input. There's just a whole lot of features, and you can't beat the price for what this thing can do. And of all of the requests that come to us, very few things we've had to say no to. And we don't have to charge them what they should pay for what they're usually asking for. This has been a very reliable product for us. We haven't really had anything go wrong. From a service standpoint, anytime I call, they pretty much answer the phone, but that's not just because of me. It's anyone who calls. However, I don't have to call very often because it's built on an FPGA technology where it can't. It's not a computer that can crash, so it's very reliable. And again, I rarely have to call them for technical support. Most of my calls are I'm too lazy. I'm too lazy to read the manual to figure something out that I'm trying to do that's might be a little bit more advanced. But they have very good tech support. I know that that's a very important issue for a lot of people, and we have not fallen short of those services at all. But we haven't really needed them. If you're looking to upgrade your switcher or make a big decision about what direction you want to go, you cannot do wrong by buying a 4A, a 490, a 2000, a 110, any of those products, because you'll be able to do almost anything you can think of creatively, and it's easily going to fit within your budget at different price points, at different levels, and it's expandable. Most of their panels are compatible with each other, so as you grow, you can continue using panels that you already have. I know that purchasing a switcher in a system upgrade is a really big decision, and if you went this direction, I promise you would not regret it, because these switchers will have everything you need it to do. As I've said before, there's nothing that's been thrown at us creatively that we haven't been able to do. If you make a decision to go this direction in your workflow, I promise you will not be disappointed.
Hey guys, it's Sunday morning, and normally our control room here at Valley Baptist Church is full of people, but we're not producing services live. We're producing everything ahead of time. In fact, I'm here in web production, playing back the services 3 times today as a web stream. So everything is pre-recorded, going out as a live stream on Sundays, and we're using 4A equipment and have been for about 6 years now to make this happen. And it has made our life so much easier. Together in our system is a 4200 multi-viewer. Here is an example of 4 of the screens that we're using in our main control space. We needed more flexibility than the HVS's built-in multi-viewer. However, we are using that to feed other portions of our campus with various feeds. So this together with the router and the switcher is a complete system for us. Of course, we're using remote panels on the router, and here's one of them right here at our front position, located by an intercom panel. It makes it really easy for us to make position changes in the multi-viewer or on the switcher, depending upon what kind of production we're doing at any given day. This is our iMac panel here. It's used to switch our iMac when we're doing worship on Sunday. But we can use it for other utility reasons as well, or to break up positions with our volunteer crew. Our control room uses kind of a tiered approach with switching in the front section. The middle section is going to be our graphics, our teleprompt area, also web production. And in behind, we're going to show you engineering. Well, obviously, if you're familiar with 4A equipment, you'll see this is the rack mount here for the switcher panel and the multi-viewer panel back in our engineering area. So all of our engineering is done on another tier with quality control, waveform, switchers, the CCUs, everything is back here in this rear area of our control room. What has been remarkable for me is the reliability of the equipment. We've had 0 downtime with anything in our control room. The 4A equipment has been just tremendous. We have appreciated the updates that we've had in the past on the software. It allows us to make quick changes. Just last night we were doing a telethon type program for a local nonprofit that required multiple layers of graphics, multiple pips, doubles and triple shots. It was no trouble at all to convert the switcher into that configuration, convert it back this morning to do our live streaming with 0 problems. Anything you want to do, you're able to do very quickly and simply with the equipment. That's a basic tour for you. That's what we're doing here. I'm going to get back to drinking my coffee on a Sunday morning and playing back what we do during the week.
Hi, I'm Juni Sepulveda. I am the Technical Director and Live Technical Production Manager for Cottonwood Church in Los Alamitos, California. We are actually just a couple of miles away from the West Coast office. One of the things I wanted to take this time and to express is some of the features and some of the things that have brought us together, you seeing me and working with Foray. And we looked at various options, and Foray was able to come in and see what our options were and see where we wanted to go in the future, how many outputs we wanted to deal with, how we wanted to be able to record and send things live in the actual main room, send things out for broadcast, also send out for our live web stream at the same time. And so the HVS-110, which is what I have behind me, is a phenomenal switcher that allows us to have multiple MEs, flex MEs with their own dissolves, and allowed us to actually be able to run multiple cameras, multiple sources, put them in, switch them, and yet send out discrete individual outputs to the different needs for our campus feed, for our broadcast needs, our ISO needs in the broadcast side, and also on our web streaming with separate hosts, separate washes, and separate dissolves. And that ended up being a great feature. Another great thing that we ended up working with is we ended up having the privilege of working with the Insight video recorders. And I think we were actually one of the first ones to kind of experiment with it and test it out. And so we found it an immediate perfect fit with how we run our cameras. In fact, we liked it so much, we actually ended up getting 2 more. So we actually have 3 Insight recorders, and we changed a little bit of how it used it. A normal Insight recorder is 4 channels of recording or playback or any combination. We did 3 channels of recording and 1 playback per machine. So we have up to 12 channels to record and 3 playbacks. And that gives us the flexibility to record all of our ISO cameras that we need, the line cut that we need, the streaming cut, which includes graphics or what some people call a dirty feed. It allows us to record from the other buildings if we needed to route those back in also. And at the same time, do playbacks. So we can actually hit and play back our video needs while it's simultaneously recording. What's great with the Insight system is not only is it cascaded and all these are tied into each other and working with each other, but they're actually tied into the HVS-110 in that it's a macro switch. So I can hit a button, it'll actually record all the channels that I need at the same time. I can also hit another button and it will start the playback and play the video that I need. I can also have the ability to set up certain presets. For example, we have a preset that once we hit it, it actually puts everything into a pre-show mode. And so slides are set up, the cameras are set up in a certain way, and when it's time to hit live, we hit live and it changes all of our macro settings in one button. So instead of us hitting 6 buttons to get to one scene in a second, we can hit that scene and everything changes. So that's been a really cool feature with Foray, the HVS-110. We also have an HVS-100 in another building that we have yet to completely open and use. It's running, but we haven't gotten to work it because currently with the whole pandemic situation and services not being opened yet, we have not used it. But it is ready, it's on, and one of the features once we start to be able to occupy more people and go in there is not only to have it running independent, but have the ability for the 2000 to be able to talk to the 100 through networks. So if we needed to send certain video information to it, we can communicate through here. So with the fact that Foray has been very close with us and they've worked with us in not only just the acquisition of the gear and actually putting it through, we've been able to have a great support and great communication with them. They've been able to work with us on the different hurdles or difficulties on how do we get it to go somewhere. Support has been there right on. As we've been growing and changing things and stuff, we've discovered, oh, can we get some help with this? And Foray has actually come in right on the day and said, hey, we can work on this, we can come in. For us, them being down the street is a very big help because we can actually communicate easier and say, we have this change or we have an upgrade, are you able to do the upgrade? And Foray support is right there on time. They come in, they take a look, they actually monitor our progress even by remote. So when we've told them, well, we're not sure if we're experiencing this, but we've seen these kind of problems whatever they may be, they can actually monitor and track in. So 4A support, as far as I'm concerned, has been the best that we've ever had. It's the best that I've ever had as far as their availability, their willingness to keep progressing and keep moving forward. I think we were the first people to actually use the Insight and to push how the Insight got used. Thus, we have 3 of them, and so we went from here's a single rack space recorder to multiple, and how to record and cascade them all together, how to make them gang record so that we hit a button and all of them record and playback on certain playbacks. That all happened with 4A equipment, but their support to actually hear us and say, this is what we need, how can we make this work, and 4A support's been there for us.